Hey, me Matt here, and first official video of 2023. Holy shit. So I figured I'd do a top 10 my favorite matches of 2023. There's WWE, AEW, Impact Wrestling, hell, I'll even throw in a match from Triple Mania because I didn't really pay much attention to New Japan this year, or Noah for that matter, so that's my goal for this year at least, and watching Wrestle Kingdom. So I will look forward to that too. But yeah, so I guess here we go. To talk about the Blood and Guts match, we had Eddie Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz with the Blackpool Combat Club, who defeated Jericho Appreciation Society. And this was a good match. I think, you look at the blood, obviously, and guts thing, and you go, this was the concept of like a War Games type situation. And I know War Games is a WWE thing now, but this was probably one of the best matches of the year. And I'll talk about the other one shortly. But I really think that AEW has taken that mix of a WCW and maybe Japanese wrestling style, if you will, of, violence, which I really appreciate. I think that's fucking amazing. But yeah, this was a good match, and like I said, you have the Blackpool Combat Club, Santana and Ortiz win the match, and it was like, I believe Eddie Kingston, who was one of my favorite wrestlers, who had the match won for his team, which I think was pretty cool. So, yeah, that's one good match. Also, you speak about AEW, you talk about the match with Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston in a barbed wire everywhere match. And it was, barbed wire on the ropes, the turnbuckles, the mats, the guardrail. You got Justin Roberts with the microphone, Captain Barbed Wire. Don't know how he didn't get cut with that, but I mean, this was a really good match too, and I think it's unfortunate to see that Chris Jericho won the match, but it was bloody. And it's not that Eddie Kingston isn't a bad wrestler. I think he's a great wrestler. I mean, he's my favorite in AEW. And, going all the way back to Impact Wrestling, kind of one of those things where you have this guy who can be a legit badass motherfucker. So, now let's go to Impact, because you have Deonna Purrazzo versus Mickie James in a hardcore match. I know these are going to be a lot of gimmicky matches that I enjoy watching because it's the truth. Hey, there's something that like that, but this match was cool considering the fact you have Mickie James putting her career on the line and what she'll do at Hard to Kill with Jordan Grace pretty soon. But this was awesome. Like, everything was used. You don't see too many women's hardcore matches where you have thumbtacks and you have tables and everything like that in between. And this was cool. You have Matthew Winfield, who tried to get involved in a match and he got his receipt. So, yeah, Mickie James ended up going over and winning the title. So, I mean, that's cool. I think that's one of those things where you take that match and you go, okay, this is pretty awesome. Let's see where else this goes. But go to AEW again is Revolution. You have Jon Moxley taking on Bryan Danielson, and this match was really good. I mean, you have two guys who are veterans in wrestling, and you know they had a stellar career in WWE, but they really beat the shit out of each other, and just the different styles that these guys have. The technical Bryan Danielson versus the brawler and hardcore style of Jon Moxley. But this match was really good too. And Mox went over. You have William Regal make his debut. And basically, that's where the whole Blackpool Combat Club started. With Wheeler Yuta as well. And then, I mean, now that William is no longer in AEW, I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. I mean, Claudio Castagnoli came back. That was cool. So he's now all elite. And I mean, that's going to be, we'll see what happens. I mean, we just saw a match with John and Claudio really cleaning house and still being a hell of a good tag team. So there you go. And Chris Jericho, for the very first time, won the Ring of Honor Championship. And he had a lot of good matches trying to provoke the Ring of Honor, I guess, world. Because, I mean, it was sold out and bought by Tony Khan. So Jericho tried to get his hands on him and Cavani or Todd Sinclair. But he had some good matches. He had a match which was one of the best because I enjoy this guy too. The Stone Pitbull, Tomohiro Ishii. It was a really good match and they really beat the shit out of each other. But Chris ended up going over, retaining the title. But yeah, it was a very good match. And I can't wait to see what this year brings for Jericho or even Tomohiro Ishii. There's the match at Revolution. You had Sting, Darby Allin versus Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks. And this was a good match. These guys wrestled everywhere. And it just goes to show you how powerful, still at his age, Sting is. Sting is one of those guys that I didn't mean to shit on. But, you know, it was just kind of, here's a guy that you didn't know still had it. I didn't know still had it. You know, it was just kind of there. He's one of those guys that I'm not sure how long he will wrestle for in the future, but I'm glad that he's still in the business. It didn't work out for him in WWE, but, you know, it's going to work out for him in the near future, I think. At least for this year. You have Slammiversary. We got Monsters Ball. We got Sami Callihan versus Moose. And again, you know, going back to Impact Wrestling, trying to watch it like every week was kind of, you know, I didn't keep up. I just watched mostly the pay-per-views with Kyle. And this was a very good match. And I think these guys really beat the shit out of each other. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know, what else could they do? You know, what else? They threw everything and the kitchen sink, you know. But Sammy ended up winning this match. And very cool to see that. When we talk about Moose and his match with Josh Alexander, and then Josh ended up with option C, wanting to do that, and this was a good match too. And finally realizing his dream of becoming the Impact Heavyweight Champion, having his wife and his son in his corner, celebrating with him after the match, and Josh getting what he deserves. You know, and this was one of those things too where And it is emotional because you can see that. You could see how one has matches and gets downfall after downfall and then finally gets what they deserve. So I think that was awesome. I think seeing this was a good idea, and I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad that they pulled the trigger for that. We have the dog collar match in AEW now. I mean, we can talk about the match with CM Punk and MJF, and regardless of my feelings about CM Punk now, it's one of those things where the guy comes out, old school, AFI music, his Ring of Honor days. But again, it's a violent match. And they didn't disappoint. And CM Punk finally getting the win. You have a recent match. You talk about that with FTR and the Briscoe brothers. A tag team dog collar match. And they had everything. Froggy Bow off the top rope. He tried to do a doomsday device. It was a mix of old school versus hardcore. And it was pretty fucking cool. And I mean, it wasn't without the Briscoes going over, and then, you have the Guns coming out trying to ruin things, and, that didn't seem to work. So there's that. So, we didn't talk about WWE too much, so I figured let's fucking talk about that. Because it's one of those things where, as much as I don't like Charlotte Flair, and yeah, she's back, and won a title she didn't really deserve, but whatever. Why did that happen? I don't know. Anyways, Backlash. Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair, and this match was better than the shit show they had at WrestleMania. I gotta say that. And there was fucking everything. You finally have the chairs in the ring. You got Ronda putting Charlotte in the arm bar with her arm wrapped around the chair. She doesn't give up, so Ronda puts the torque on. Finally, she gets the title. So, very cool. I thought that was a good match. I think, I don't like Charlotte Flair. I'm on the fence with Ronda Rousey. There was always a lot of negative talk about her. But, this was a pretty good show, in my opinion. A good match. I mean, a lot of women's matches were pretty good this year. But this one, to me, stood out a little bit more. Anyways. I mean, the match with Ronda and Liv, and I'm a huge Liv Morgan fan, so the fact that Liv finally did get a championship in WWE was great, and it lasted for a few months. So, but my number one favorite match of 2022, and there's, I know, plenty more, but SummerSlam, and as much as I shit on Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, this is one of those things where, it started off, you have day one. We'll talk about their match at WrestleMania. I was opposed to it, but it was a pretty good match. But this match was their swan song. I think this match was one of those things where, okay, we're done. We're not going to mention this anymore. Because you know that Roman Reigns is the longest Universal Champion. But then, with Brock, and when you take out WrestleMania, Roman got the titles. So then, you have their match at SummerSlam. And you have Brock with the forklift. You have Brock lifting the ring. Which I don't think has ever been done before with any organization. You have Paul Heyman getting involved. You have just a lot of cool spots, but you have Austin Theory, who didn't really cash in his title shot, Money in the Bank thing. So, yeah, this was a good match. Obviously, Roman went over, and yeah, let's be done with it now. And I think we are. We want to talk about an honorable mention. Yes, I said top 10, but this is my list, so. Anyways, yeah, so the last match I will talk about, it was Clash at the Castle. Walter or Gunther versus Sheamus for the Intercontinental Championship. I believe that Gunther has made the Intercontinental title relevant. Just my opinion. I think that's awesome. It was my favorite title growing up. So, why not? And they put each other through war. Gunther ended up going over, but that had a lot of respect for Sheamus, especially being in the UK. Even though Ireland's a part of the British Isles, but still, very cool to see this. But that was my list for 2022. My favorite matches, anyways, and like I said, I know there's probably more. But anyways, yeah, here's to 2023. And yeah, we'll go from there. Anyways, talk to you later. Bye.
Anymore. So you know that them cutting WCW was a long time coming. But I think that there's this myth out there that Jamie Keller that's why he took pleasure in cutting WCW. I don't think that's the case at all. Because if you look at some of his earlier interviews, like